Today, we will be learning 8 writing tips for beginners. These tips will help you revise your short stories so that your final draft is clean, professional, and strong. The first tip is to format dialogue correctly. This can be really tricky, so pay close attention. Here are some things to remember. Every time you have a new character begin speaking, you want to give that line of dialogue its own paragraph, even if it's very short. If it's the same person speaking, however, that can stay in the same paragraph. A line of dialogue should always be closed inside quotation marks, and the punctuation of the sentence should be closed inside of the quotation marks as well. However, dialogue tags, which is when you clarify who is speaking, should follow the closing quotation mark. The second tip is that you should always indent new paragraphs. Every time you have a new idea or a new character speak, you need a new paragraph, and all paragraphs should always be indented, including dialogue. If you have long chunks of paragraphs that go on for pages, double check and see if you can break those into smaller thoughts and ideas, like I'm doing here. And if you do find places where new paragraphs belong, don't forget to hit the tab key at the beginning of the paragraph to indent. Tip number 3, ditch the phrase "in order to." This can be nice for formal essays, but it's never necessary for creative writing. You can always cut the words "in order" out of the sentence and have it still make sense. The only thing those words do is make it take longer for you to get to your point and make it more boring for the readers. For example, in the sentence, "She picked up the book in order to hit her brother with it," you can just cut out the words "in order," and then it becomes, "She picked up the book to hit her brother with it." It makes it less passive and more interesting to read. Similarly, watch overuse of the word "that." For example, if you look at the sentence, "She picked up the book that the librarian recommended," you can actually cut out the word "that" and it still makes sense. "She picked up the book the librarian recommended." Or, "He opened the gate that the puppies were behind." This can become, "He opened the gate the puppies were behind." If you cut out that extra word, you avoid inflated or awkward speech. Of course, sometimes you need the word "that," so don't get rid of every time you use it, but check your sentences and make sure that you actually need the word. If you can cut it, you should. Don't start to do something. When you say your character started to do something, what you really mean is that the character did it. For example, Salvador started to sit down. What does that even mean? How do you start to sit down? What you actually mean is Salvador sat down. Or Rylan started to climb the tree. It's much better to just say Rylan climbed the tree. Then your words are more active and you're cutting out some of those extra unnecessary words. Tip number 6, ditch the adverbs. Adverbs are words that describe the way a verb is performed. Words like quickly, quietly, slowly, etc. They often end with ly. Almost every use of an adverb is an opportunity for a stronger descriptive word. For example, "She slowly walked across the runway." This could be much stronger and more interesting if it becomes "She strutted across the runway." Or, "He quickly ran to the goalpost" could become "He sprinted to the goalpost." Adjectives are usually a missed opportunity for a much stronger description, so watch those. 7. Capitalize mom and dad when used as a name. In the sentence, my mom and dad were in the living room, mom and dad aren't being used as a name, so they should be lowercase. However, if your character describes mom smiled at me, mom is being used as your character's mother's name, so it should be capitalized. And finally, the last writing tip for beginners, number 8. Edit. Use spell check, use formal language, and use proper grammar. Don't use texting language, don't shorthand. Double check and make sure that you've spelled things correctly. Your Chromebooks should tell you by underlining a word if something doesn't look quite right. Now, your Chromebooks aren't always correct, but double check and see why it's being underlined. And if you need to, fix it. That's all of our writing tips. So, get to work revising your short stories, and thanks for watching.